Hey there, this week we're making chicken piccata. I've taken the flour that was in the recipe and mixed that with the grated Parmesan cheese already. And so now what we've got going is I've got the skillet warming up over here. And we're gonna dredge the chicken and we're gonna brown it in the skillet, and then we're gonna make a pan sauce. While the pan sauce is making, we're gonna cook the pasta. This thing's gonna come together really quickly. So let's let the pan get hot and then we'll move on with the rest of the recipe. Alright, so hopefully the sound of this induction burner is not too distracting. We got the flour, we got the chicken here, and so what we need to do is get a little bit of oil in the skillet and get that warmed up. Got my skillet warm. We talked about this the other day, doing this. I think y'all remember we just need enough oil there in the skillet. You want to put a little olive oil in there that was in your packet, a little bit of butter. We're sauteing this, we're shallow frying it. So while that's getting hot, we're going to get a little flour and Parmesan on these chicken breasts. Alright. And this is not a batter like you do if you're cooking chicken fried steak, something like that. We're wanting to brown these off. Now, I haven't talked to you about it before. When you put things in hot grease, notice how I put the meat, let it go away from me. If you just drop it in there toward you, you can splash grease on yourself. And kiddos, grease burns are not something to joke about. They're not something funny. Alright, so now what are we looking for with this chicken? We want to make sure we get it nice and brown. Oh yeah, come along. We're going to develop that fond on the bottom. Remember we talked about fond. That's those crispy little bits that gather on the bottom of your skillet when you've been sauteing something like this. And that's going to help season our sauce. Now if you're curious how to know if your chicken's done, if you have an instant read thermometer at your house, something you can do, chicken's going to be fully cooked and we're going to have killed all of our nasty little critters in it if we can get it up to an internal temperature of 165 degrees. Alright, oh look at that beautiful color. These are pretty. Be careful flipping these over so you don't splash grease on yourself. Let the other side brown. Looks really nice. So one of the things you guys that is difficult to help you with as y'all are learning to cook is it just takes experience. I don't know whether it's cooking too hard or not cooking hard enough. I want to make sure that I don't get my oil and my butter so hot that it starts to smoke. If you get past the smoke point of the oil, you'll start burning the oil, and that doesn't lend a good flavor. So we do want a high temperature. So you just kind of have to watch it and you adjust the temperature, turn it up or down. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah. Be sure where we need to be. Alright, chicken's ready. Now the rest of this is going to cook quickly enough. You don't have to worry too much about these things getting cold on you. Alright? We'll add a little bit more grease back into the skillet there, just a tiny bit. And we'll get these other two cooked off really quickly. Let's talk about the sauce here for just a minute while this is while this last piece of chicken's cooking. Now, I think we've done a pan sauce before. We're going to have this fond that's in here. I'm going to add a little bit of liquid to deglaze the pan. It's going to make all of those little crispy bits turn loose. Well, first I'm going to put the garlic in it. I'm going to saute it in that little bit of fat that's left in here. Then we're going to put in some liquid and deglaze the pan. And we're going to cook this now. We've got to reduce it and keep it thick. And I'm going to give you a couple of hints about how to get your sauce where it's nice and thick. I'm going to move it over here. I can rest it a little bit. And we're going to move on with this sauce. Alright, now I've turned my heat down. It was pretty high. Now I'm turning it down to about medium. Alright. And we're going to put this garlic in here. And we don't have to cook that just a little bit. We're just going to... Remember we talked about that there's some compounds that release their flavors in oil, and then there's some that release their flavors in water. So we're putting this in the oil, giving it a chance to release some flavor and soften that garlic just a little bit. I'm going to turn my heat up to about medium high. Can't show you a flame like I could at school. Alright, it's going to come together quickly. Now I'm going to deglaze this. Going ahead and turning the heat up pretty high because I want this to reduce. And reduce means just what it sounds like. I'm going to scrape up these little bits of fond on the bottom. Alright, I don't know if you can tell, but as I rub the bottom of the pan out, they're all releasing nicely, releasing that flavor into the sauce. What I'm looking for, I'm going to heat this. See how when I pull my spatula across the pan, it's kind of dry? I don't want to cook all the moisture out, but I want to cook a good bit of this out. Alright, that's about as dry as I'm going to go with that. See when I pull it across the pan? Alright. Going in with that chicken broth. Now I do want this nice and high. Alright. Add some pepper flakes in there. Add a couple of those. Now one of the things we're going to try to make is this sauce reduces again. Alright, we're going to need to make an emulsion. And if you remember this from your science class, an emulsion is when you've got two dissimilar liquids that you try to combine together. So in this case we're going to have water and oil, and if you remember anything about those two materials, they don't bond well together. And so the trick to making a glossy sauce is finding a way to get your emulsion to work. Now we're using canned chicken broth from the store, which is great, but one of the things it doesn't have in it that homemade chicken broth has is that gelatin. Remember when we made the carne asada, when we talked about cooking it for a long time so that we could break down the collagen that was in that tough piece of meat and turn it into gelatin? Well, I happen to have a little bit of pork gelatin here from a project that I did a few weeks ago. So, and you don't have that, that's fine. I want to show you another trick that you can do. We're going to add some butter to this at the end. And one of the things you can do, if you want to try to thicken your sauce, we're going to add a couple of pats of butter to this at the end. I've got a little bit of cornstarch here. And if you'll toss that butter and cornstarch. Cornstarch is a bit of a thickening agent. And we're not trying to make gravy out of this. We just want this sauce to have a little bit of body to it, not be completely lifeless. So, that tiny bit of gelatin that I put in here, a little bit of cornstarch, that's going to thicken this up. Alright, now this is cooking pretty fast, so I want to get busy. I'm going to put we got to put some lemon juice in here, and the recipe that you have I don't think calls for lemon zest, but hey, got a lemon laying here. We want that tartness, so I'm going to put a little bit of zest in it. Alright. If you've got a fancy juicer, feel free to use it to get your lemon flavor in there, and if you don't, that's okay. I'm waiting to put my capers in there until this reduces just a little bit more. Yeah, I think this is going to make a nice sauce. Alright, now what I'm going to do is turn this down. In fact, I think I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to add this butter in here. Now, change my mind, I'm going to turn it back on to low. And there's going to be enough residual heat in my skillet to melt this butter and form this emulsion. Now remember, this is that butter that I tossed in cornstarch. And what if you're at the house and you don't have cornstarch? Toss in a little bit of flour. That'll work too. You just want a light coating on it. And now I'm going to put these capers in here. You want the acidity from them. Oh, this is a lovely sauce. Now, you may have noticed I haven't salted this. I'm going to check this for seasoning. A little bit of salt. Chicken broth from the store is usually already salted, and as much as we reduce that, it concentrates the salt also. So you got to be careful with salt. Crack a black pepper in there. And this sauce is done. Now we're going to get our pasta out, plate this up, and have a yummy supper. Alright, time to put this beautiful dish together. So I've already cooked this pasta that we made earlier in the other video. That's my old dog in the background coughing. Bless his old heart. If you remember, I'm going to remind you, this was all the pasta that came from 1 egg and 3/4 of a cup of flour. Now I told you it would be plenty for 2 people. Look at that. Alright, now while you guys weren't looking, I also cooked up a little bit of asparagus. We had lurking in the refrigerator. Alright, now I'm going to pick these beautiful chicken breast. Alright, now for some of this great sauce. Alright, I don't know if you can tell. See how nicely that is emulsified. Alright, so I'm going to spoon some of that over. Be sure to get it into your pasta. And here we go, y'all. Chicken piccata. I don't think you could ask for anything that was much simpler than that. And can't wait for you to taste it and serve it for your family.